Welcome to Linda's Corner. My name is Linda Bjork, and today we're going to be talking about getting over pain and enjoying life. I'm delighted to welcome special guest, Dr. Hema Murty from Ottowa, Canada. Hema is the author of Professional Woman's Guide to Handling Stress. She is also an advanced yoga instructor, certified online personal trainer, nutritional coach, expert in East Indian philosophy, and she's listed in Who's Who in the World. She helps women over 50 get rid of pain issues from activity so they can enjoy life. You can reach Hema at her website, getshanti.com, where she offers a free ebook, the 6-Day Mobility Challenge Workbook, and I'll include a link in the description. Welcome, Hema. I'm so glad that you could join with me today.
I'm ecstatic to talk to you, Linda. It was amazing for having me here. I'm so thrilled. Thank you.
And I am in your demographic. I am a woman over 50, so I am so excited for you to teach me all of your ways. And in our little pre-chat, I learned that not only do you do all of the amazing things that you mentioned in your bio, but you're also a doctor of, did you say it was aerospace engineering?
Aerospace engineering, that's correct. Yes. And
wow. Okay. So can I hear your story? Because that's a little different from what you're doing now. So what led you from where you were to where you are now?
Well, I still am an engineer. I think you never lose your original occupation because, work and things that you're associated with. But to get to the specific answer is that I see the body as an engineering issue. And I started my business way back 15 years ago or so, trying to answer that fundamental question. And I felt like as that, well, not at the time, but as a women demographic in general, I felt we're not being trained properly by the fitness world, was not catering to their specific interests and needs at the time that I was always into fitness training. And I felt that the industry wasn't serving me and I had to dig up my own solutions to my own issues, whatever they may be. And I felt, well, as an engineer, how would I think of this problem? And my mind just rolled out into autopilot and said, well, here's an engineering problem. There's a system, there's a body, it performs a certain way. There's this inputs, this is the performance, and this is the output. Why are we not catering to that template of the female performance parameters, which are different? And I thought, why are people ignoring that? So I just used my engineering abilities to create a new model, and it's been working really well. And people feel, on the receiving end, they feel that there is this individualistic approach and more catering to specifically to the female needs. Now with and as you added the demographic issue with the age, I noticed that vector, also playing into training principles, and not in the level 0 way, the obvious way, but just a very deep way. And it doesn't have to be medical. It has to be to deal with the social aspects of the being, the women over 50 audience, the demographic. I think we all understand it, but to explain it to somebody who's not in that demographic is just really literally not a possibility. It's going to come out like some approximation and a guesswork. But if you're experiencing it yourself, it's almost like if that person was in there, you just reach out your hand and touch them and go, I get you, I'm going to fix this and you're going to be better tomorrow. And it's that communication, I think, that speaks to my clientele. The fact that I just really get them at a really intimate level because I don't have to guess. And as an engineering problem, it comes down to just defining what system is not properly engaging. What is it that I need to give you as a suggestion so you can figure out and fix whatever is not functioning? So in most cases, a lot of it is accountability, for example, and just having me talk to them and be in their corner almost half solves some of the problems, some of the issues. Really? We can get into the pain and all of that. But yes, I did write a book on the stress management. And in doing that, I found out that there's a lot of, and if you go through that book, you'll find people will come to me and say, yeah, it's kind of written like an engineering book, but it makes so much sense. It's not one that I can't understand, but one where, yeah, it's making sense to me because it's just very logical, rather than saying, here's a bunch of things that you don't have time to do. And that's why you're in this pickle you're in. Good luck with that. Adios. If you want to see me, you can walk over to the gym where we train 50 men, and then you can walk into the middle of that. Have a nice day. So I think that was the model that that I saw around. Oh, good luck fitting into their weight room. Sorry, no, there's no room for you with your light weights. Go over there. So this kind of thinking was prevalent when I started my business. Not so much now. Hats off to all the female trainers and all the weight training. The industry has promoted strong women and the fact that we need to work on that to create a more healthy body. And it can be whatever the person needs rather than, hamming in a cookie cutter thing down your throat. That's not going to work. But individualistic type of a fitness, scheduling can happen, and women can still live a wonderful life without having to be uncomfortable.
That is amazing. Okay, so we have so many things to talk about. This is absolutely thrilling. So I checked out your website and I read a testimonial that said, Coach Hema is a magician. I finally get up without pain like everyone else. And I thought, wow, that is beautiful. So the proof is in the pudding. The proof is that it is working for people. So would you walk us through what it is that you do, the techniques, and how do you help people get over pain? And I do have a question. Is this mostly pain from the workout? Like we try to work out and so it hurts us because we're older than we were? Or is this pain like just chronic pain? Because I have friends who deal with chronic pain and that is a huge issue. So, I mean, can it help with that as well? Or is it mostly just you worked out and you're really sore and this is how to fix it?
Well, it's many categories, but you're right. We can divide pain that a person experiences. Like, let's just stick to the demographic women over 50 and say, okay, we have pain from the fact that, like this one client, the one client that did write that testimonial, she actually fell off a skidoo, and many in her youth. So this is one category of pain I deal with, is at a very early age, they'll have an injury, very innocuous at the time in the sense that they're so young that they can just get themselves out. And of course, they're going to go to the doctor and do all this stuff. But then the remnants of that may not affect them as much. And it might rear its ugly head 30 years down the road or 20 years down the road, whatever the case may be. One day they get up and they go, I have this nagging neck and shoulder that will not let me live a happy life. I'm obstructed by that pain. And it just gets in my way. I'm not normal. I'm not enjoying life. It's just a horrible situation. That's what I can help them with, because that is an unattended historical injury that has left scar tissue and the remnant, and they weren't addressed. So there's lots to say about that category, but I want to
like if someone had an accident, a car accident or anything, would that help with that sort of thing as well?
Yes. Okay. It will definitely help with
it's a physical trauma of some kind, something.
That's right. That's right. A physical kind of, they have to have had some accident where they've actually done something. For example, runners' knees, and skiers, any time of golf injuries, tennis injuries, those kinds of things are fixable to a certain extent. There's lots of work to be done. It's not a snapping of your magic wand, like she said, but it does sound like a magician. I know, because they're non-traditional techniques. I have a yoga therapy background in yoga, so it's a very deep university degree rather than a weekend certification type of level. So it's a very deep knowledge. Not to deny that doesn't help. Everything helps, but it's just that going that step further assists me to help the client faster with non-traditional techniques. And that's what happened. For example, childbirth, a lot of moms will can attest to the fact that hips kind of do their dance when you have childbirth. And so I'll have a lot of younger clientele, not in the specific demographic that I currently service, but a lot of younger people also will ask me to just get them out of pain jail with kind of whatever it is with moms are like a demographic where what's happening. First of all, there's the childbirth, but after that, there's also the carrying. They'll prefer one side. So they'll do the auto response of the carrying of the child on one side. And so the hips try to do their dance. This is a common one that I see, and I know the methodology to fix it. Now, the third category you talked about, which is like chronic fatigue syndromes or fibromyalgia. Now, Those are a different training. They are in a sense, I wouldn't say fixable in the sense that I can just do this magic wand thing. They're more of a long-term solution that enables the client to live their day with less pain than they would had they not followed these remedial strategies. So that's a third category of pain that I can, help fix. But all of them require a buy-in from the client. So they, having known me and my knowledge base, and the fact that I have a client list now, which is rather long because I've been in business for so long. So that helps create that credibility and the buy-in factor so they can meet me, because there's a requirement that the client have to practice every day certain strategies, or minimum amount of strategies, at least have a 15-minute self-care routine that helps me help them.
Okay, that's fascinating. Yeah. And I love that you talk about buy-in, because this is the person has to do the work. You can't do the work for them. And I understand you use a combination of three things, and that's the yoga, the weight training, and stress management. So it's a whole body. You're using your body and that magic of yoga, which still is a mystery to me of why it accomplishes all of the things that it does. Maybe you can enlighten us. Why does it work so well?
Well, so yoga goes to the jugular. It goes right to the heart of the matter. And we know in life that everyone has issues. Issues are part of being human. And I think that if we denied that, that would be more work for us. So the first place we have to start is to say that being human comes with its issue bucket load. So you're sitting on a lot of things that we have to work on. And what yoga does is just dig through all of that. Now, when I say yoga, I have to kind of preamble it with the fact that when the original yoga from India came over the pond here to this continent, it lost some of its original healing properties, and it was transported into this exercise program, kind of like a Baskin Robbins flavor 37, that kind of thing.
What was it originally? What's different? What did we change?
Yeah. So the original yoga, which is what I studied, which is what people, let's say on the Himalayas sitting there will practice, that original one, first of all, didn't have any names. It was just called Hatha Yoga. That's its only name. There's only one. The original yoga is only one. And so these flavors came about because of the modernization of the fact that it had to fit into this exercise program type thing where people need to keep calling things different names so that there is a buy-in from their clientele. So, making it into an exercise program changes the whole way of actually teaching yoga. But the original one dealt with a deep practice, and the instructor, you can't just walk in, do this class like a teaching certification and be authorized to teach. In order to teach that style of yoga, you have to be that, and your teacher who is probably your teacher is a very advanced person, light years ahead of you, and has been in the yoga practice for a lot longer than you could be at that age that you start. And then they will let you know when you are ready. And it's not a black and white. They kind of have to see where you're coming from. You have to be the yoga. It's not, yoga means joining, and we already know that. Everybody knows that. That's common knowledge. But what is it you're joining is that your sense of being. In other words, from the time you get up to the time you get up again, the 24/7, even in your sleep, you have to be yoga. That integrated personality has to shine in every cell of your body. Then you are allowed to teach. And so that's a very different definition than going through asana practice and this breathing practice and just teaching it as a textbook. Now, if I started weight training, I don't have to be, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I can just learn the anatomy. I can learn the technique. I can learn what to watch for in a client. I can understand programming, how to program for different sections of the population, depending on their goals. I can watch for injuries. All of that is textbook knowledge. I should have it and I should know it cold, but that's still in a textbook. I don't have to walk and talk with a dumbbell in my ear. But when you're into this particular practice of yoga and yoga therapy that I studied is more the being, and the being has to be transformed into someone who can heal based on their deep knowledge of yoga. So it's different than assigning, okay, you do this asana, you do this breathing sequence, you're good to go. It's almost like when I teach a class, I'm almost transferring that level of being into the class just by my presence and my direction. Of course, it's still a class where I'm standing here and they're standing there and watching me trying to do follow my instructions. But for example, almost 90% of the people in my yoga classes are people who hate yoga. And they came in as a fluke because they heard about a yoga class, either at work because it's a workplace yoga, or there's somebody, their friend dragged them in. You got to go, you got to see this class. Or I had a lot of wives drag their husbands in. You got to come. It's not like a regular class. No, you'll love it. No, we're not doing all that. They call it crazy stuff. So typical.
What does it look like, Hema? You're tantalizing me, and I'm just like, what is it then? If it's not this, and it's not that, and it's not everything that I think it is, what is it?
It's a class where people solve their problems. They come in with whatever issues they have, and then whatever issues are ailing them at the beginning of the class, I guess magically I lead them to be quiet for the first time in their day. I think that's what basically it amounts to, if I wanted to sum it up. I mean, so obviously it's more than that in an hour, of course, but my instructions enable them to clear out whatever it is that is bothering them. And it's a loose explanation of it is that if there's an issue that's bothering them. So let's zero back, backtrack a little bit to the pain issue and the stress issue.
Okay.
Pain and stress are the same in different manifestations. Now, that's the yoga theory, and that's how I can use it in my practice with clients. But the thing is that both of them hinge on this one simple principle. The body is stress-free and pain-free when all the moving parts work as advertised. So if you have a table and there's a wobbly leg, we're going to know immediately as soon as we put like a computer on it or something significant like a heavy book. We'll know right away. We know what leg to fix. Away we go, fix it, move on. But in the body, there's millions of seen and unseen parts because thoughts are also parts. Mm-hmm. So thoughts and feelings, we just can't go, hey, there's a bad thought that's not helping me. Let's take that out, put it aside, and move on. We can't do that. We have to go, okay, world, stop for a second. I'm not thinking about you. I'm going to think about me right now. Now, how many people even do that for 1 second in the day, right? Very, very few even can stop, like the luxury of stopping, right? Because go. Even in your sleep, your mind's racing with what you got to do, what you're feeling, what you're thinking. So I think that's where it comes from. I first enable them to stop, but I get a sense of the class, and each class is totally different. So depending upon what the class, even the same participants will come to each class with different stuff. And so I get a feel for who's doing what, who needs what. And it's amazing. After the class, I'll always get a text from participants saying, how'd you know my hips were whacked out today? All the stuff was good. I feel amazing. I can walk and nothing's hurting. How'd you do that? How'd you know? Well, I just know because for my years of practice, I watched the body. It's really not magic. If you have that knowledge of A, anatomy, B, a lot of yoga style, how the body moves, if you have deep empathy for people, also a feel for where they're at, you get a sense, you watch their bodies. And even through the video now, when I'm doing it online, I get a sense for where people are. And the class gets tailored to, okay, I see somebody's shoulders. Let's do shoulders today, a little bit of more shoulder. And then I'll get the text right away. I was bingo, right on. Somebody will say, how did you know my shoulder got tweaked when I picked up groceries today for some odd reason? And you fixed it, yay, So, I mean, it's really not rocket science in that sense, although that's what I've trained at as a rocket scientist. But the thing is that it does come up together. If you just put everything together and you feel your way through the training, I think that, you just try to get away from that cookie cutter textbook type of doling out of information and start treating the client as a human being who's coming with one or two moving parts, not working as they should. So you're like Sherlock Holmes when you get into the room with the client, and now through the video, it doesn't matter. The point is you have to be that scientific mind. Who's not doing their job in your body? Who's whacking you out? Like, who's causing the pain? Who's ringing that doorbell saying, me, it's me, it's me. And then you just, through their warm up, even people who don't want to do any kind of, I don't want to do any breathing today. I don't want to close my eyes today. I don't want to do, okay, fine, don't. Let me go through the warm up with you and I'll watch your body and I can tell you where you need to fix stuff. So sometimes they will even voluntarily, after their warm up, they'll say, oh, I had this, disagreement all day. I was talking on the phone with my, whoever in the office, and they wouldn't listen to me. I said, bingo. Okay, you know what? Let's do a breathing exercise where you have to start counting, and maybe you won't think of that thing that's bothering you. And lo and behold, it always, distracts them for that time. They've bought themselves some time from treading water. They're now a little calmer. And so, with time, they will, ferret themselves out of that problem. I will just lead them through the solution, and I think that pain or that disagreement with that person went into your back. Okay, you know what? We're going to do some rehab exercise for your back. And so that's another thing. I've studied a lot of rehab training that, are presented in a lot of methodologies are there. So I tried to get certified in a few of those and try to study those. So it's just combining, as you pointed out, all of that, and nutrition plays a factor, sleep, hydration, but not in the regular sense. I think a lot of stuff is dumbed down. Like when you say hydration, people think, oh, I'm drinking 8 glasses of water, I'm good. That's not hydration. Hydration is paying attention to it, not just guzzling water.
What do you mean?
Hydration means, how do I feel?
Hydration means, how do I feel? So that's beyond, am I thirsty? How do I feel? Now, people don't recognize when they're dehydrated. So what do you mean? What does it feel?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Because by the time you're thirsty, you're dehydrated. That's a scientific fact. By the time you're hungry, you should have eaten a while ago. It means your cells waited a little while longer because they were going to give you the benefit of the doubt before they started complaining. She's going to get around to it. Yeah, I think she knows what to do. No, she's not doing it. Okay, now we're going to start growling in her stomach because she's, is way beyond. So it's already beyond the time. So what do I mean by all of this is preemptive strike means the person has to take a self-care attitude. So if I'm someone who's trying to just take care of myself to prevent pain from arising, prevent stress from manifesting, and we always have stress. That goes with the human being, whatever age, whatever you are. Stress and a human body go together, but managing it and manifesting it are two different, those are different things. You don't want to manifest the stress in some body part. You don't want to manifest it in your being, your sense of being. So if you're confused, or, if your temperature is going up, or if a muscle is complaining, that's just a sign of a manifestation of stress. Something's not happy. And it could be a thought, it could be a feeling. You could be sad about something. You could even be happy about something and not just allow yourself to feel that. There's a lot of stuff going on in this thing up here, and that's really where it starts. But the point being is that if you develop a self-care routine, and this is what I teach my clients to do, is that a lot of the problems can go away of their own self because you've developed this conversation with yourself saying, I got up and I'm spending half an hour, no matter what fires I have to put out today and whoever needs my attention right away, I'm going to take half an hour. Maybe I'll get up a half an hour earlier. Whatever the case may be, I've carved out that time for myself to do, maybe I'm going to do a meditation practice. Maybe I'm going to do some yoga asana, some stretching, if you want to call it that, some breathing practices, Maybe I'll do some foam rolling. Maybe I'll do some spiky ball on the feet because I have foot issues and my trainer told me to do that. And put that all into like a 15-minute routine and make that a self-care kind of a ritual, because that is a language. That's almost like spending 15 minutes with your body saying, I want you to do this dance with me. Don't give me any surprises. I'm here for you. I'm paying attention. Don't knock on the door unless, you really have something to tell me. And please tell me, I'm listening. What do you want to tell me? What's bothering you? And through that maybe quiet time. And the other part of this equation is that all of these practices have taken on a kind of a negative tonality because they've, the word yoga, for example, as I said, that one client said, yoga was a bad word for me. And that's on my website too, that testimonial.
Yoga is a bad word. So what did I don't remember that one. What did they say?
They said, until I met Dr. Hema, yoga was a bad word for me. And then I, found out what it was all about. And so they had again gone through these yoga classes, which, in quotation marks, which, I'm not saying that they're not a good thing. Any kind of a movement thing is good. May not have been the best thing for that person. And maybe it should not have been called yoga. It should be called, modified by the word Western yoga, because the original one doesn't have any of those things, which people call,
like the poses and all that stuff. None of that is.
Yeah. I mean, the Cirque du Soleil kind of attitude that follows the yoga, modality of exercise, and then the whole apparel thing that goes along with it. I mean, it's kind of delegated to the skinny women with the tights. It kind of got delegated to that. Same thing with meditation. That got a bad name because of, the practitioners initially, I think, had some kind of a fringe personality or had some other kind of, a demographic that they couldn't identify with. But the word meditation means measuring your mind. Meditation. Really? Yeah. And so I can be sitting here talking to you doing meditation. Why? Because I'm self-aware. I'm aware of how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling. I'm connected with who I am. And that's part of the yoga theory. The fact that, when you sit for meditation, and again, that's another thing. No, cross-legged does not mean meditation. You don't have to sit in a certain posture and be uncomfortable. That whole drama of the added baggage of these things, they got attached.
My mind here, Hema. So you mentioned a couple times, and I do remember reading it, that you do some online things, because I'm quite a ways from Ottawa. So how do I access you online? What do you have available online? Do you have videos? Because I apparently I have never seen yoga, the real yoga. I've never seen it.
Right. And
Western yoga that I did not know. I didn't know was Westernized yoga. So yeah. What have you got?
Okay, good question. So I don't tend to put out a lot of yoga with videos in that sense because of the personalized nature of the class. It just becomes very intimate, me and the students. However, I do have a channel, Shanti Fitness on YouTube, where I talk about the theory of how breathing can happen. And my book, the one that you mentioned, Professional Women's Guide to Handling Stress, gives a lot of practical practices that one can do in very detailed description of how each exercise can happen. And that's part of the yoga cycle. And on my, yes.
To me, this is a physical thing, and it takes, I need to experience it.
Yes.
Or have a visual experience with it. I think
Right.
I have a hard time reading it and then translating that into doing the movements correctly.
Totally understand that. So on my other website where I have the actual, the pay for the class button, it's called getshanti.ca, which is the Square website where people buy the program. So the .com, getshanti.com, is where I describe all of my downloads, get people to, if they're interested, get their newsletter availability that they can sign up for, or get the mobility program, for example, the 6-day mobility.
Does that have a link to the other one or a button?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So exactly. So we'll be able to go to getshanti.ca And if they do, there's a menu system there where they can actually get a 4-week program with me that I can mail to them with a video. But that's mostly weight training. But if they want to have a class with me, then they can contact me and we'll set that up.
Okay.
So there's a menu of
One
choices.
where we have to be there at the same time, or is it like a whole bunch of people at the same time?
Oh, okay. Well, there's 2 choices. One is the one-on-one with me. And the second choice is that there is a class, but it's full of the people that were shut down from the shutdown from 2020. So they all piled into one big class. It was not my intention to do that. I was actually going to just not teach that in that format. I was going to transfer it to take it into part of my one-on-one personal training sessions. So I was going to kind of transfer it that way. But en masse, I got all these emails at the end of 2020. I got a lot of emails from people saying, we tried to do it on our own, but I think we need Dr. Hema back.
Right.
So in 2021, I started setting up a once a week or twice a week, depending upon how many people were interested in continuing and doing that. So I tried to pile them all into, as much as my bandwidth of my computer would allow, to put them all into a class. But mostly, because of the nature of the beast, here's how it normally goes. Now that I've described the modality in which you can access me, and also on my getchanty.com website, there is a contact me and we'll work something out. I mean, there's a lot of menus that I have on the Square site where you can buy like a 4-week workout that I will send you, and that's a one-time deal after interviewing you, of course, because I want to know what you need. But there's also the most popular one is the check-in workout. It's called, I do an interview with the client for an hour, figure out all their needs. What is the pain that I need to figure out the solution? What do they need? I put that all into a package. I go through it once with them in a half an hour kind of a sequence. And then I do a weekly check-in to see if those need tweaking or if they've been able to do. They all come with videos, so they're never going to be lost. They'll always have a video, and they have free access to me through text or email. If something is going south right away, they should be able to say, no, that particular thing on that page, don't get it. And then I'll set up a call with them video. I mean, I take care of them. It's not ever going to be I bought this package and I don't know what to do. So it's never going to be like that. And then there's the in your face package where every day they get to see me, they get to talk to me at some point, and I keep on their case. And this is for the clientele in that package are basically executives who just really pay for me being with their personnel, in their life, basically. And because they just don't have the ability to schedule a chunk of time unless it's in their schedule. So just schedule it with me. I'm in their face. And basically that's how I describe it, to keep them on the stress-free path and whatever it takes for that day. So it may change from day to day. So that's another thing I have to think on the fly. Oh, I have 15 minutes today. I have a client coming in. I'm between meetings. I'm burnt. Can you re-energize me? Yes, let's do a small breathing exercise and I'll lead you through a meditation. And that's what I mean by in your face, like I'm accessible to them. They'll schedule that with me through that program. So that's the range of things. But not to, if somebody needs a one-on, those are available too. Just contact me. But, I do have the Shanti Fitness website, YouTube channel. So there I'm trying to put in more of those remedial pain adjusting kind of methodologies that I've been using with other people. But a lot of them really just come up to, if I could boil it down to one thing, is to motivate the client to do self-care. Think about yourself, stop the world, stop servicing the world. And that's what women do the best. We're amazing at everyone out there. Is there anybody else before you even talk about yourself? Oh, I needed water an hour ago. I completely forgot about that. But, hey, is there anybody out there that needs me? Because I'm here. I can, do whatever it is you need. But what about the good old me? So that daily self-care, that, goes a long way. It's amazing when people start doing that. And that's another thing, the accountability. I have to kind of remind them every day, did you do your accountability? So I set up accountability tracking sheets that they can go click off that they've done that sequence of things, whatever it is for them. And they will, and they know that my eyeballs are on it. So I'm gonna check up, but I'm really understanding of women's lifestyles. What came down that prevented you from doing it? You had 2 days and then there was nothing. What happened? And then they'll tell me the incident, and I just try to work around it. It can be done at any time. So then solve your problem, put out the fire, and guess what you're going to do then? You're going to take 5 minutes to do a breathing exercise, and it's amazing how the rubber hits the road. But it is amazing how the rubber hits the road in a big way. Pain sometimes can be diminished through breathing exercises. And it's simplistic as it sounds, because a person suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome will just absolutely say, how can you, I'm breathing, I'm on fire, my body's on fire. How can you possibly do that? But I have seen it. I have taught yoga to a fibromyalgia category of clientele. We had about 10 in a special class just for them. And I think I was the only instructor who was qualified, who had, all of that background to be able to conduct a class, because that's a very difficult class to conduct. And you have to be very empathic, very understanding, and really be gentle. And props, you have to start searching for props. And I was put into a utility room, and my eyes were like trying to find things that they could hold on to use as guides so that they can guide themselves. Proprioception is a very big thing in fitness. You have to know where you are with respect to your body, your muscles, and the world around you. That's a huge thing. We take it for granted. Walk into the room, you don't bump into the sofa. You know to go around it. But that's a huge thing. You're seeing it. You're kind of passing that information to yourself. You're processing where all the things are in the room, your space, where you need to go. That's, if you had to write that into a computer program, it would be very long, but your brain does it instantaneously. But some people don't have that. And, that's where pain comes in. When pain comes in, it shunts some of those senses. And, they're working with limited ability to process the world around them. So pain can be traced to a non-working something. What is it that's not working? And that's really my Sherlock Holmes personality, that I have to really figure that out. And I find great joy in doing that. And I'm really at it. And I've been pretty successful. So I feel like that's something that can be done in most of the cases. Now, sometimes you are left with a remnant that you have to kind of solve on your own. Being that self-care person, you have to kind of take that train and run with it. You have to do the job. But I can indicate, and I know when it rears its ugly head again, I can always trace it to a lack of self-care. Oh, I forgot to do this today. And then that's what you're left with. So those are some of the methodologies. And yeah, definitely people can, to answer to that point, they can just on the getchanty.com, talk to me, contact me, and we'll figure something out. There's always a way out of every solution, at least to get you through the day without feeling like, oh, I'm delegated to the chair, I can't enjoy the party, I can't go, or I can't do this, I don't want to hear that. I can get people back into the enjoying life modality for sure, at least for those time, the time period that they need.
It is amazing. So thank you for studying and using your expertise to be able to help other people to be able to enjoy their lives. And
for sure.
For visiting with me today. This has been enlightening.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
In closing, I'd like to share a quote by George Orwell. He said, "Of pain, you could only wish one thing, that it should stop. Nothing in the world was so bad as physical pain. In the face of pain, there are no heroes." If you're experiencing pain, I invite you to try some of Hema's tips and techniques, and to include self-care so that you can get rid of pain and enjoy life. See you next time on Linda's Corner.